Calling all stations. Clear the air lanes. Clear all air lanes for the big broadcast.
He disappeared over 65 million years ago. Now he's back. From the Bedrock Studios at WJOB in Hammond, it's T-Rex Live.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth? Huh? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Are you trying to give me the double talk?
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Why don't you answer him?
He's talking pig Latin. I don't know what he's saying.
He's asking you if you swear.
No, but I know all the words.
How about face?
I won't do it. He don't pay my salary. It's a guy with a beard. I'll get up.
And that is in regards to college, meaning more so how to get through college. Myself, for example, my parents paid a good majority of my education for college. Every year I went for 4 years. Well, 5.5, I suppose. But they would pay a majority of it. When my dad was indeed working, his work had provided a, what's the word I want to use? Not a scholarship, but a college aid kind of thing where they would give money towards college. But that wasn't all the time. It was only about every other semester or so. I mean, it wasn't every year that I went to school. It was only every other year or close to it. So I had no choice but to, well, I take it back. The last 2 semesters I had to take, my senior year, I had to take out student loans, which most people are very hesitant to do because, well, for obvious reasons. Which is, you know, you got to pay those back. You owe money on that. There's interest on that. It takes a lot longer to pay off, and all that. But I had no choice. The thing is that I could not qualify for any kind of grants or anything like that because, well, for one thing, my dad was making too much money to be considered for that. For in some instances, others there was always some sort of catch or ploy that you had to meet a certain requirement. And needless to say, having to pay back the loans is slowing up the process. And a lot of kids are finding themselves in that situation to take loans out. Dealing with the graduation, the college situation, how to pay for college, if you're fortunate enough to get a hold of grants, or do you have to find yourself following the situation of having to take in student loans in order for you to pay off your schooling, and how that affects you even after you graduate with your degree. Is it really? I mean, is it worth pursuing? Is it worth not pursuing? Is it going to be more of a headache in the long run than it is? Because the way the world works today, guys, is that a high school diploma is not going to cut it anymore. It's not. I mean, you're getting people over at McDonald's who have bachelor's degrees who they're hiring. You can't get away with a high school diploma no more. You got to have something higher than that. And to get something higher than that, you got to go to college. Well, in order to go to college, you got to have money. And if you got to have money, you've got to have enough money to get you through 3 or 4 years or however long it takes. And then to do that, you might have to take out loans, which then puts you more into the hole. And then how do you dig yourself out of the hole? It's a chain reaction. I don't know if it honestly has a way out. I don't know. It's a continuous cycle. I do think it is best if you're considering going to school, to figure out what it is you want to go to study for. When I was a senior in high school, one of my dad's relatives, his uncle's son, who technically would be my dad's cousin, but he was more my age, was in town. He had been going to school for about a year or so. already, or a year or two already at school. And he and I were talking about college, and he was telling me, he's like, well, the best thing for you to do is to maybe just go in and under the general sense, just go as an undecided, undetermined college major, meaning that you just go in and you take courses to take courses. And then hopefully maybe you'll find whatever it is you want to do with yourself at some point. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, are you serious, man? They'll throw all kinds of classes on me, sciences and math, and these may be classes that I may not even need for what I want to do. Back then I was actually contemplating the idea of getting involved with website developing, believe it or not. I had seen a school that was advertising to get you that kind of training and education within a 2-year period, meaning they get you in, they get you out in 2 years. And that sounded pretty good to me. I like the idea of being in and out of school in 2 years. That sounded good. But you looked a little bit more in depth to it. The money to invest into something like that was just ridiculously high. Which is, that's why they, you put in all that money, and then, oh yeah, we'll get you out. You put in all this money. Absolutely. But, so anyway, long story short, he ended up telling me to just take general courses, which I didn't do. I was totally on a whim that I found myself taking an interest in broadcasting. I was sitting at home, senior year in high school. Me and my folks were in the living room watching TV. I may have shared this story before, I don't know. We were watching the Fox News, I believe, and they did this one shot with a TV camera where this camera pulled way, 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 way back to show, the floor director, the people behind the scenes, the other two guys running the cameras, kind of just giving you a big old shot of the studio. And my mom's like, hey, that's a pretty cool job to do right there. I said, what? Sweeping floors? She goes, no, running that equipment from behind the scenes. That'd be pretty cool for you to do. Why not look into that? And sure enough, I did. I didn't realize I had a talent for something like that, but I said, why not? Could try it. So I went and found out that Purdue Cal did offer a broadcasting major. Purdue Calumet, and the rest is history. I went there and studied that, and I did avoid a lot of the courses that I probably would have taken if I had gone in as an undecided. As a broadcasting major, you focus more on the technical side of a lot of things rather than like the math and science kind of thing. You still had to take a math and science, but it didn't have to be anything crazy like an algebra class or a geometry or calculus. You didn't have to go that far with it. You just had to take a general kind of math course, general science, and then they really wanted you to focus on the technical stuff, how to run the equipment and everything. And got a lot of hands-on training as far as that went with Craig Bloom, who ran the radio and the TV department over there, and I believe he still does. And Craig was a good mentor. He's a good professor. He really taught you how to not only run the equipment. He left the creativity pretty much up to you. If he told you that for an assignment you were to develop a commercial, he'd give you some guidelines. So he said the creativity is all on you, whatever you feel like doing. However, I am more interested in how you run the equipment to do, X amount of whatever.